Hello again. Unit 3, page 35. Open at page 35. Grammar. Can, can't, must, mustn't. Crazy names. This is another with country article. So, which one is the correct option? Can, can't, mustn't. Ask you something. I think, can I ask you something? You blah blah call your twins fish and chips. You can't call your twins fish and chips. You can't do that. No way. You call a child number 16 bus shelter. You can call a child number 16 bus shelter. A name blah 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 make a fool of the child. A name mustn't make a fool of the child. Mustn't. It shouldn't be like that. Mustn't. Rule. To talk or ask about permission, we often use the modal verb can. To say what isn't allowed, we often use can't or mustn't. Okay? We often use the modal verb can to talk or ask about permission. And to say what isn't allowed, we often use can't, mustn't. You can read the article crazy names, called crazy names, okay? You can read it later on. Use mustn't and verbs. We will use mustn't and these words, okay? You mustn't talk so loudly, I think. I be late. We need to use be and mustn't. I mustn't be late. There is a mistake here. I mustn't be late. The goal. I mustn't miss the goal. You mustn't run. Okay, let's match the pictures with the sentences now. You mustn't talk so loudly. You mustn't be late. You mustn't miss the goal. I mustn't miss the goal. You mustn't run in the corridor. Okay. Now we will use modal verbs and rewrite the sentences. And also we will use the pronouns in the brackets. This is the example 0. Diving isn't allowed. You can't dive here. Use the pronoun and use modal verbs. It isn't allowed means can't or mustn't, right? You can't dive here. It is necessary for us to wear uniforms. So we need to use we. We don't have to wear uniforms. It is not necessary. It's a good idea to buy a new phone. So you should buy a new phone. By the way, it is written wrongly. We can't use to with should. You should buy, not you should to buy. You can say you ought to buy, but you can't say you should to buy. No. It's okay for you to use my laptop. You can use my laptop, right? You can use my laptop. It is necessary. I permit you to use my laptop. That's why we used can. It is necessary for them to work harder. They must to work harder. Are we allowed to play here? So, can we play here? Can we play here? Let's move on. Vocab part, vocabulary, expression with name. Read and match the underlined expressions with the definitions. Vocab and definition. Tony Hawk is a big name in skateboarding. Which one? Become known or respected by many people, maybe, or something else. A person who is important or famous in their profession. Yes, a big name. A good brand. He's upset because some of the other kids call him names. Use rude names about or to a person, like in Turkish, you know. He's upset because some of the other kids call him names. Jay-Z isn't his real name. It's his stage name, nickname. A name that a person, usually an actor or a singer, uses in their profession, like a nickname. First, fish, meat, vegetables, fruit. You can name it, I eat it. Anything you say or choose, okay? Anything you name it, anything you say. We want to get married, but we haven't named the day yet. Someone whose name I can't remember. Sorry, number 5. Look, it's what's his name, what's her name. Someone whose name I can't remember, okay? It's what's his name, what's her name. We want to get married, but we haven't named the day yet. We didn't decide it, or we didn't plan it yet, okay? We haven't planned yet. This one. I know you don't want to do the exams, but it's the name of the game for university entry. The most important part of something. He made a name for himself as a great actor, became known or respected by many people. Let's complete the missing words. It's a little bit tricky activity, right? I will not zoom it. I will do like that. She has been to Europe, Asia, and Australia. You name it. She's been there. You name it. She's been there. Hard work is the name the game of if you want to do well in your exams. Hard work is the name of the game. The key. My uncle is a doctor. He's a big name in the field of cancer research. Some of her classmates call her names. It's horrible for her. Call her name. Do you remember? You are engaged? That's wonderful. When are you going to name the day when you will decide the wedding ceremony? Oh, look, there's what's his name? That boy who lives in your street. So I can't remember his name. That's why I use what's his name. She made a name for herself on a reality TV shows and became a famous singer. A name for herself. A big name, okay? Bruno Mars is the stage name of Pete Gene Hernandez. Stage name. Now we will listen to strong and weak forms. This is IPA chart. You don't know IPA chart yet. You haven't known IPA chart yet. Now we will listen to an audio, a pronunciation audio, strong and weak forms. This is O. This is Shua and A. And O, like that. Let's listen. Pronunciation strong and here.
Track 1.21.
What do you always buy the same brand of?
I always buy the same brand of trainers. They're called Ace. I bought a pair of green ones last week.
Ace, what are they made of?
They're made of fabric and rubber. They put a lot of effort into the design and quality of them.
And into the marketing of them too.
Yes. This is strong and weak forms of them. Of. Okay. You know, this is not of, actually. Of, brand of, a pair of, made of, a lot of, marketing of them, of. It is pronounced as of. Okay, let's go back 34, page 34, reading part. Now we will do reading activity here, page 34. Look at the names and answer the questions. Apple Martin, Brooklyn Beckham, Moon Unit Zappa. Do you know anything about these people? Think of one thing that they have in common. They all have famous parents and strange names. Moon Unit, Brooklyn, Apple, different names. Were these names allowed or not allowed by the government? Crazy names. Names for your children, it's always a big question for parents. Let's check it up if there's any audio track or not. There is no. So let's read it. Should you give them an ordinary name, or do you want something a bit different? We always hear about big names in the world of cinema, music, or sport who prefer something that isn't ordinary. And so they give their kids names like Apple or Brooklyn or Moon Unit. Other people like to use brand names for their children, so there are now quite a few people called Harmony or Diesel running around in school playgrounds. So can you call your child anything you want? Well, it depends where you live in. In New Zealand, for example, you can't call your child Tallulah, does the hula form from Hawaii. And you can't call your twins fish and chips. And yes, parents in New Zealand really have tried to give their kids these names. It's hard to believe, but you can call a child number 16 bus shelter. Generally, certain names aren't allowed because, as a New Zealand judge said in one case, a name mustn't make a fool of the child. In Sweden, if you want the name Google for your kid, then go ahead, no problem. But you'd better not try to call your child IKEA or Q because the government won't let you. Things are even more difficult in Denmark. There's an official list of about 7,000 approved names, and parents need some permissions to use a name that isn't on it. Pluto and Monkey didn't get on it. Of course, when kids grow up, they can decide to change their name, and then it's a different game altogether. If a woman footballer wants to call herself Michael Jackson, which is what Brazilian player Marileia dos Santos decided to do, then there is nothing to stop her. She made a name for herself as one of the best female footballers in the world. And of course, singers do it all the time. Sean Corey Carter and Stefani Germanotta, for example, might not be household names today if they hadn't decided to use the stage names Jay-Z and Lady Gaga. Some people, however, change their name from something unusual to something ordinary in order to blend in. David Carradine named his son Free because he wanted him to feel free to do anything, even to change his name, which he did to Tom. Let's do this yes-no activity. Tallulah does the hula from Hawaii? No. Fish and chips? No. No. Google? Yes. IKEA? No. Q? No. Pluto? No. Monkey? No. Let's check the answers. I said no, but yes. Let's see. Number 16, bus shelter. It's weird. It's hard to believe, but you can call a child number 16 bus shelter. So yes, it is. Yes. Let's move on. Read the article again, answer the questions. Yes, which people's usual names do we often hear about? We often hear about the unusual names that famous people give their children. Yes. What reason did a New Zealand judge give for not allowing some names? The New Zealand judge didn't allow some names because they made the child look silly. That's why, to protect the children. What did Marileia dos Santos decide to do? Do you remember Michael Jackson? She decided to call herself Michael Jackson. What did she become well known for? She became famous for being one of the best female footballers in the world. Why did David Carradine give his son an unusual name? David Carradine called his son Free because he wanted him to feel free to do anything, even to change his name. And changed. What was the name? Tom. Okay. Now again, mark each statement with a number from 1 to 5. I strongly agree, I strongly disagree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's up to you. Read the sentences and mark each statement with a number, whatever you want. Okay, this is the end of our lesson. See you. Bye.